What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, second live stream of the day. You guys must be loving our faces right now. We have got quite a bit to get through today. We're going to cover a lot of what Ali Gold was talking about with the academy players, and we're going to get into a transfer update as well, and a few bits and pieces regarding Levy and the hierarchy. But
our favourite topic.
Yeah, but do go over to shop.wearetottenhamtv.com or wearetottenhamtv.shop to get our latest merch. There's an offer on right now for buy one, get one 15% off with the code WATTV15. Some great shirts and some great merch on the store right now. So get involved, people. Get involved. I think
some really good.
Seeing us wear them very soon.
Yeah, there's some great designs on there. If you're looking to rub in your Arsenal fans, friends' faces about your Europa League winning trophy, go get yourself a T-shirt. And it really helps support the channel as well. So we really do appreciate anyone who goes over to the store, buys themselves a T-shirt. Would be much appreciated.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's get into the first update that we're going to do on this show. Regarding the academy players, we're going to start off talking about Dane Scarlett. Which is an interesting one, Dane Scarlett, because it has felt like this guy's been around for absolutely forever, but still a really young player. And Ali Gold was saying within Tottenham, people rave about Scarlett's finishing, and his hold-up play has improved. And the delight for him among the players when he finally netted that first goal was there for all to see. The need for a homegrown forward kept around the club is likely to see him or will Lankshear stick around for the first half of the season, and whichever path Scarlett takes after Frank's decision, he needs to grab that opportunity. They're calling it a kind of make or break season for Dane Scarlett, really.
Last chance saloon, potentially. Look, and unfortunately, he's never really had a crack, obviously, playing in the first team. I mean, how many games has he actually really played? He had I don't know how many games he played in total, but last season, I thought when he had little cameos, obviously scored against Elfsborg in that game. I remember he came on against Ipswich, had a bit of an impact as well in that game when we won 4-1, grabbed himself an assist, albeit, I don't know, I just wasn't happy calling it an assist, I remember, but did grab himself an assist. And I thought in some other games he looked quite bright, but has never obviously, I don't think he's ever started a game for us, has he, off the top of my head?
No, I mean, he's only made 2 Premier League appearances. I think one was under Jose, I think. I can't remember.
He made 2 last season because he came on against Brentford as well, didn't he? I think.
Sorry, he's made 5 then. 3 last season.
3 last season, yeah. I think he's looked bright, but obviously the loan spells haven't gone great. I remember we were chatting to, where was he on loan last season or 2 seasons? Where was it? Portsmouth, where they were, we spoke to a fan, they were really happy with him. They thought he was great, but for one reason or another, it didn't quite, couldn't stay in the team. The Ipswich loan went really badly. There was one there where he was started quite well. He was scoring a few goals and then was in and out of the team.
Last season.
Who was it?
Oxford last season.
Oxford, that was it, yeah. And he was doing quite well. So the loans haven't been a massive hit, but also he's kind of shown a bit of potential, as well. So it's not like being a complete disaster, but they haven't been great. Wouldn't say he'd been happy with how the loans have gone. And so we in terms of how the loans have gone, there's not enough to suggest in those loans that he's ready to be playing Premier League football and ready to be in the first team. But then he's made a few cameos, done quite well. Obviously, he's always been, as you say, Mourinho gave him his debut, I think, at 16 against West Brom. I remember he came on in a few Europa League games that season as well, and obviously scored against Elfsborg. So there's clearly some talent there, and I just think I don't know whether it's about, does he just need to find somewhere where he's going to get regular game time, he's going to be trusted, he's going to be allowed that kind of time to develop into like a starting striker for a team, whether that be in the Championship or wherever? Or is it, do Tottenham keep him around as probably third choice striker and see if he has his kind of, Rashford moment where he gets a run and starts to score, like due to injuries or whatever, or due to really impressing? But that seems a bit of a long shot. So I would love for Dane Scarlett to be here next season and then, get chances and take them with both hands and all of a sudden become an option for us. But I just struggle to see that being ever happening.
Well, with the way we know Frank likes to develop youngsters, remember when we were out in Korea last year, we were watching the Open Trading, we're looking at Dane being like, wow, this guy's finishing is actually dynamite. And then fast forward to when he came back from his loan, second half of the season, and he started to make those Premier League appearances and in the Cups. We're looking like we saw a more physical Dane Scarlett than we ever saw before. Definitely filled out his body a bit more, definitely being able to handle the men's side of the game, definitely those loan spells doing the world of good for him in that sense. So is there a case, say, on the back of that, that Frank can develop him next season? And if it's a choice between him and Lankshear, and I'll get into Lankshear's situation in a second, does Scarlett deserve the chance a bit more than Lankshear right now?
Don't know about deserve, but deserve is the wrong word. But is he better than Lankshear? I guess is the question. I don't know. It's tough to really say, because obviously Lankshear had a brilliant season last season, but that was a youth level. This season had just been obviously scored against Galatasaray away. We'll get into Lankshear, but it's a tough one. It's a real tough one, because the problem with Scarlett is he just hasn't played that much football over the last 2 to 3 years, in all honesty. Like in terms of real starting week in, week out. Does he need to do that? Does he need to go somewhere where he's going to do that? Or is staying at Tottenham the best option for him and hoping to get his chance? Is that the best way to go? I don't know. I don't like. That's something we're going to have to kind of decide internally. I'd love Scarlett to get his opportunity. I think there is clearly talent there, but I think I kind of feel like at this point of his career, he's not, what, 20, 21? Is he on the B list, or he would be on the, no, he would count
He's
as a player.
21 now.
He's 21. I don't know. I don't know if having him as a backup or to third choice potentially is right for his career. Essentially, is my worry.
Yeah, there was a certain other striker though in the academy that wasn't doing great on loans, and at 21 came into the team, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, everyone could be another Harry Kane, but they're one in a million, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But look, we'll see what happens with him. Let's talk about Will Lankshear, and we can circle back to this, because the update with Will Lankshear is that West Brom would like to take Will on loan again, and other Championship clubs are also interested. However, Frank is believed to want to take a look at Lankshear closely this summer, as Brentford had a bid for the player accepted before he joined Tottenham, before Frank joined Tottenham. So Frank clearly knows him well, because he wanted to take him to Brentford, which was very interesting. And Mason wants to take him to West Brom. So, I mean, there's clearly a lot of belief in him from our current manager and our former coach, who's now the West Brom manager. What is the best way to manage this situation? Because only one of them can stay in Lancashire and Scarlett, or only one of them will stay. Which one will it be?
Obviously, Lankshear was part of the first team last season for 6 months before going out on loan. The West Brom loan was pretty disastrous, but apparently he had some good cameos. I mean, from what I read from West Brom fans, they seem like he was all right in some of the cameos he had, but he never really got a run of games where he started, or when he did start, didn't seem to make an impact, unfortunately. I thought when he was at Tottenham, obviously I don't think off the top of my head played too many Premier League games, but in the Europa League, I thought against Ferencváros he looked all right. Obviously against Galatasaray he scored, but then he got himself sent off. I thought he looked quite decent against some of the Europa League sides in the group stages. So obviously he was firing in the under 21s, but you know, it's a different level, kettle of fish now. I think he obviously counts as a B-list player next season. If we're picking, obviously, you probably say Scarlett's a bit older, so if he isn't part of the first team, you might have to sell him permanently. There's a chance, because I don't know if he'll go on another loan, whereas Lankshear you could probably loan out. So on that basis, if you're looking to have both of them, give them both the best chance of having a career at Tottenham, you probably loan out Lankshear and keep Scarlett around. But if you're looking at who's better right now, it's tough. It's a tough one. Who is better right now? It's just judging by what I've seen in a Tottenham shirt, which is very, very little from both players. Who would I say is better? Don't know.
I think they're at a very similar level. Let's be real.
Yeah, Yeah, it's kind of given to. I can't really call it. I can't really say which one is better. Maybe Lankshear. I don't know. It's tough.
I think what Lancashire has that Scarlett doesn't have is that kind of height, the kind of natural physicality that Scarlett has had to kind of build upon himself. Lancashire probably has that to his like he's kind of filled out in his body a lot earlier than maybe a Dane Scarlett did, and I think he was more ready for maybe men's football earlier on than what Scarlett was. But like I said, I think Scarlett's definitely done that over the past year. So I think if I'm making the decision, and if Ryan Mason wants to take Will to West Brom, I think that will do the world of good for his development to have a manager that's really going to believe in him and start him week in, week out in the Championship. Whereas Dane, he's got Justin Cochrane here as well, who knows him very well. I think if I'm going to stick between the two, I'll probably keep Dane here and loan Lankshear out, because Lankshear hasn't really had these loans either. He had one last year, but not as many as Scarlett has had.
Yeah, and obviously if he goes on loan to West Brom, a manager who knows him really well and will know how to get the best out of him, will play to his strengths. Maybe that just is the best course of action. And obviously Lancashire's a little bit younger as well, so he's got a little bit more time. Not much, but and maybe Scarlett, we can keep him around. But again, it'll be just terrible for Scarlett if we keep him and he's not really playing again. That would just be really detrimental to him. So he needs to be getting starts, not just minutes. He needs to, but then again, he has to earn those minutes, and it's hard to do that when you're not getting that much time to prove yourself.
Yeah, look, it's a very difficult situation for Scarlett now, because he's been on copious amounts of loans. He's not a teenager anymore. He's 21 years of age. So I think this is a massive season for him. Don't get it twisted. This is an absolutely massive season for him. So he's got to kind of burst onto the scene this season somehow. He really does. Next up, well, let's talk about Mikey Moore, the darling of the academy. And Ali Gold in his article said that this could be an important season for Mikey's development. He's approaching his 18th birthday in August, and with Spurs looking for further attacking transfers this summer, it would make sense to let the teenager go out and experience a full season of regular football. However, those pesky homegrown issues are likely to make Tottenham think twice about letting the gifted young attacker out of Hotspur way. The Frank factor with his past in developing players or teenagers with the Danish FA setup, as well as at Bromby and Brentford, will also play a part in how they want to continue Moore's development. And with all what's been said about Spurs going for this one, for that one, all wingers, it's hard to see where Moore's minutes going to come from next year as well.
Yeah, especially as last season, you can kind of throw him into some Europa League games, and he was, able to show him what he's capable of. Whereas, we're going to be in Champions League next season, so it's going to be a lot tougher to do that. Obviously, I did think there were some Premier League games. Like I remember when he came on against Everton, he was fantastic, where he maybe showed he can do something at that level. I still think he's got a bit more development needed until he's able to consistently play as well as we hope he can at that level. I think physically a bit more development is needed. But it's whether do you do what City did with Foden, just keep him around, develop him yourself, give him minutes here and there when you can, and bed him into the team, or do you loan him out, give him a whole season of football, but maybe you're sending him to a league where it's going to be obviously it's going to be very tough for him physically. He's going to have to adapt to that, but it might a lot of these championship teams, obviously, I feel like Mikey Moore might be the kind of player where you put that real quality around him and he'll shine. Whereas if you need him to right now where he's at be go to a championship team and just be a star there, I think it might still be quite difficult in a way.
It's all about trying to get those performances like he showed against AZ Alkmaar in that second half. He was a menace on that left-hand side, attacking his fullback. Basically, the game plan was in that second half, get the ball to Mikey Moore, because he was the one that was making stuff happen. And if he could do that in the Europa League, I don't see why he can't do that on a consistent basis in the Championship. And sometimes, yeah, you need physicality to play in English football. But if you're that good, the need for it is a little bit less. And I feel like Mikey does have that kind of talent. Yes, there were times in the Premier League where he was getting, pushed off the ball and physically overrun a bit better. So I think in the Premier League, it's a bit more than that. But in the Championship, I think he can do it.
But you've got to remember against ours there, don't get me wrong, he was brilliant, but he's surrounded by unbelievable talent. You know, Maddison was playing. We had like a lot of, I think, who else was playing? Like Decky was playing. We had just, I think, Charlison was playing. We had quite a strong, decent team out there. So obviously,
yeah, they were putting 2-3
shot.
men on him. He was wriggling out of situations. He was doing a lot by himself.
He was doing a lot by himself, but it's like he was part of a team where we're kind of getting him in situations where he can have a go at defenders, and in the Championship he's going to have to fight for those opportunities himself. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be very different and difficult for him to do that when he's out on loan. Maybe if he's at a mid-table Championship team where they're not always having the ball, they're not always, he's going to have to fight to win the ball back. These kind of things. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really difficult for him, and maybe that's just a learning curve he has to go through. Or do we keep him around and give him opportunities with us when we can, surrounded by better players in a better environment? Maybe that's the way to go. I'm not 100% sure what the best course of action is. I understand the logic of sending him out on loan, but I just wonder whether right now, where he's at in his career, just keeping with Tottenham and kind of having that environment where everyone's like really supporting him. No one's like, he's not going into a Championship club as like a Tottenham loanee where big things are expected. Like at the moment, he's got so much like love and support at Tottenham, and he's surrounded by a lot better players where the expectation's not there on him. I think maybe that might be better for him. I'm not sure.
He also needs minutes, Sim. He also needs minutes. Like when you're looking at the makeup of the squad, particularly on the wing, we've just got so many wingers. I just can't see where those opportunities are going to come. We don't have Europa League football.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the problem. He needs minutes, but he's still 17. He's got time.
Yeah, he's going to be 18 by the start of the season.
Yeah, he'll be 18, but still, he's very young.
Yeah, you got players of 18, like Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri, 17. That are Lewis Skelly starting week in, week out in the Premier League. Just because you're 18 doesn't mean you shouldn't be getting a lot of minutes.
Well, he has to be good enough. Yeah.
And I think he can be good enough if given the opportunity, but he needs the opportunity.
Yeah, that's the issue at the moment. I think obviously we'll get into Son later, but if he's leaving, maybe there's more spots there for him. But I don't know if we're going to sign a left winger on top of that, and then it's going to limit him even more. I guess depends what kind of forwards we're going to sign. Come the start of the window, if we're going to sign a striker and a right winger, maybe there's going to be more opportunities for him. If not, then maybe he'll have to go on loan.
Yeah. I think it's up to Mikey. Like 18 years of age, he's probably going to be in and around the squad next season. He's just got to grab the opportunities and make the most out of trying to develop as a football player. And basically,
I think one area and Lewis Skelly are just physically in a different way though right now to Mikey Moore. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it's true. But it's true what someone says in the comments here. Lewis Skelly's a first-team England international. Mikey hasn't even made an under-21 appearance yet.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly
where they are in their development. The next player we're going to talk about is Alfie Devine, which could be another make or break season, just like Dane Scarlett. And he says, as with Scarlett, it feels like it could be a make or break season for Alfie Devine, who turns 21 this summer after a string of low moves without getting a real chance at Tottenham. Frank will make a final decision on what happens next for the midfielder, who has 1 year plus an option of another 12 months on his contract. It's worth noting that Frank's assistant, Justin Cottrane, who has returned to Tottenham after working with the academy years ago, did work with Alfie in the England setup for 2 years, who was known to be a big fan. He could make Frank aware of the talent of the young midfielder. And I think Alfie Devine has bundles of talent. Decent loan spell out in Westerlo last year. And you got to cast your mind back to pre-season because he's one of the standout players for us. I thought every time he got on the ball, he looked inventive. He looked aggressive when he was off the ball as well. Really like the look of him. But what do we do with him next season?
We have so much talent. This is the perennial problem I've been saying. when you keep signing players because you feel like these youngsters aren't ready, then you're blocking pathways, and that's the reality. So we either, with someone like Devine, obviously we've got Sarr and Bergvall who we've signed. Obviously we signed Devine a while ago, but we signed him at 16. He's had a few loan spells. We've now signed Bergvall and Sarr in between that, and they're obviously ahead of him. They've been brilliant in their own right, don't get me wrong. But if we want to give Devine a chance, it's going to have to be instead of one of them two, or you keep them on the B list and you give them opportunities. But if we're talking about, we're talking about potentially signing another midfielder this window, then there's just no room for Devine. So you kind of, when you have these talented youngsters, you either have to give them the opportunity to show what they can do and trust them, be in their squad, or you sign someone and you say they're not good enough and you sell them or whatever. But a lot of the time, it's just about them getting the opportunity, and it's difficult to do that when we've got a stacked midfield at the moment. So many options. I don't see why there's even a need for Devine. As much as I like him, like as much as I think he could be great, is he better than Bergvall? Is he better than Sarr? If the answer is no, then as much as I think he could be a really good player and has bundle potential, why keep him around? Maybe another loan deal at a Premier League team. I'd love to see what he can do. He is on the B list. So you could keep him around and he wouldn't affect squad numbers. And maybe that's something we should do. But maybe it's just about seeing him in pre-season. But again, I'd love to give Devine a chance, but I don't see, unless we're using him as part of the squad, but carrying him as a squad number, where does he fit in?
Yeah, I mean, when you stockpile so many youngsters like we do, I feel like you kind of stunt some of these players' developments. Like all these players have got such bundles amount of talent, right? Can all go really far in the game, in my opinion, if they're developed in the right way. But because we've got so many, you can't have a pathway for all of them, right? So how are we supposed to develop all these players all at the same time when they're all fighting for positions with each other? Plus, you've got the first team players as well. Like you have to pick and choose, really, don't you?
You do what City do. You the best ones you give an opportunity to, and you sell the other ones. Obviously, with City, because I think City have got such a name for their academy now. It's so their academy is so notorious for developing incredible talent. They're now selling some of their talent who barely played for like 20 million and getting unbelievable fees. Maybe one day we can get to that kind of level where someone like Devine we can sell. I mean, how much would you think Devine gets on the market now for selling him permanently?
Not much. 5
million, maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe if we get a name for ourselves, like with the unbelievable talent we do have, maybe Devine will be a 15 million sale in the future or something.
Well, he still has to do better on his loan spells, doesn't he?
I mean, yeah, he's done all right. It's not like he's done badly.
He's not done at Westerlo. He didn't do, I mean, he did well, but he didn't do enough to say, look, someone come and spend 10, 15 million on me.
No. But, some City players...
Jamie Donley might have done.
Yeah, potentially. Some City players, they just get big moves, like big money moves based on just how they're performing in the academy. It's crazy. But that's a different conversation. But that when you've got as much talent as we do, I think we have to be quite smart here. And in terms of, I know Tottenham fans in general, because maybe we've been staffed of like great academy players coming through the first team, like since Ledley King, and we've had Ledley King, Harry Kane. But apart from those two, who's been like unbelievable, like Foden level, I guess, like coming through, very, very rare. Like we're so desperate for any sort of academy talent to be used into the first team, but when you have so much, you have to maybe be a bit ruthless and sell at the right times, I guess. But look, City have been left with egg on their faces with a few sales. If they're in all honesty, Palmer, Rodgers, they've sold a few who've come back to bite them.
Has it?
Hasn't affected them, but obviously, are we in a position where we could let go of Palmer in our academy if he was coming through? Probably not.
Well, if we had a Palmer in our academy, he'd be starting a lot. That's the reality.
You'd like to think so.
No, but Palmer was part of the first team squad and he was making an impact whenever he was playing. He scored in Community Shield final and I think he scored in another final as well for them. If we had a player like that doing that on a big stage for us, he'd be starting week in, week out.
Yeah.
So I think Palmer's a bit of a different kettle of fish there.
Okay, but I'm just saying, I think we have so much talent, but as I say, you can't give everyone an opportunity. And even with someone divine, you might have to sell him.
Yeah. Let's talk about Jamie Donley now. As Alice the Gold says that Tottenham are currently rebuffing loan advances for Jamie Donley and will assess his situation later in the summer after Thomas Frank has got a chance to work with him on the training pitch on pre-season. So it looks like we're not entertaining any offers right now for Jamie Donley, which is interesting.
Very interesting. Which obviously, but if you actually think about his trajectory, he should be maybe exciting a lot more Tottenham fans, because I know everyone's happy with how his Leighton Orient spell's gone and everyone's like watching him. But considering how good he was under 21 level, he's then now gone on loan to Leighton Orient, had the loan spell that he's got. Maybe we should be like, maybe this guy is, maybe there is something special about him. Maybe we should really be taking
there is. I don't think anyone's saying otherwise.
I think there is. I don't think anyone's demanding he gets a given opportunity next season.
No, but I think everyone is in agreement that he's a special player.
Not necessarily. I don't think everyone's calling him special. Special's like, this guy needs to be in our first team next season. That's what special means. You know what I mean?
Special means that you've got a very, very big future, that you can reach the very top. And since I've watched him in the under-21s, I've said that.
Okay, but you're not convinced he should be in the first team next season. Is my point.
Because I feel that we've got James Maddison. We're looking to buy Eze. We've got Kulusevski. Where is his development best suited to be here?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I'm looking at him thinking,
you still need to be developed in the right way.
Correct. But he's had that season in League One. It was League One, wasn't. But obviously he played against, Premier League opposition, the FA Cup, and was brilliant. Scored that amazing goal against Man City. Everyone remembers that. So I think it's right that the club are rebuffing offers and thinking, actually, before we do anything like rash, let's take a serious look at him in the summer and let's in the pre-season think, is this guy ready? Because there could potentially be a special talent here whose trajectory at the moment is showing that this guy is very much on course to being a Premier League player at the very least, but maybe has the chance to be part of our first team next season. And he's also, a left footer who we don't have many of those in our squad as well. Yes, we have Maddison. Decky obviously has come back from an injury, but we'll see when he's back. Maybe it's September, maybe it's later. Maybe because he's on the B list, it could be worth just keeping around for 6 months until January, till like Decky's overcome that injury and all that kind of stuff, and see if we can actually break into the team and actually use him, because the guy has serious talent on that left foot.
We need to play him in the big pre-seasons we have, the Bayern Munich's, Arsenal, Newcastle. Maybe he can have that Dele Alli moment. Remember when we saw Dele Alli in that pre-season against Real Madrid? He started Luka Modric. We're like, who the hell is this guy? That's what we were saying. So maybe
let's just not play him at left back.
Yeah, exactly. He got played at left back last pre-season, but maybe he can have that kind of moment in this pre-season.
I bet you'll be shooting from the halfway line in pre-season. I guarantee you. But you know what? That halfway line shot wasn't a fluke. He's done it before. Like that. He's got unbelievable ability on that left foot. He's scoring free kicks for Orient. The guy changed a whole club's fortunes. Him and obviously Keeley as well. But when he broke into the team in like November time, their form just absolutely skyrocketed, and he was such a massive part of that. And to have that kind of impact at that age is not an easy feat to do. That is shows star ability.
All the way to the playoff final.
And they were tipped to battle relegation. Like he is that is star quality when you're able to have that kind of impact, even if it's on League One. That is unbelievable quality. So I would be really tempted to have him stick around.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. But I think Jamie Donley is going to be a special player for us, whether it be this season, next season, or the season after. I'm certain of it. I really am certain of it. And yeah, someone mentioned in the comments, we're talking about that Dele Alli pre-season. I mean, the year before that, he was in League One as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, for MK Dons, absolutely.
So if you're good enough, just stick him in there, and it's up to Frank to see that in pre-season. But then how does that affect our transfer plans? Do we still go for someone like an Eberechi Eze if Donley is sticking around?
Yeah, I mean, they're both kind of number 10s in their strongest position, but could Donley maybe do maybe could he be like a right number 10 as a left number 10 kind of maybe it would be better if we still had Ange when we played 2 number 10s, but in that decky position where he kind of, when he plays in the central, could Donley kind of fill that role potentially? Maybe.
Well, a lot to be. I'm very excited for pre-season just to see these guys. To be honest, the guy that was with him at Leyton Orient, Josh Keeley, a goalkeeper, 22-year-old, will likely get rewarded with a new contract as he's going to be a wanted man this summer. But it will be interesting to see if Frank wants to take a closer look at himself this summer before sanctioning a third loan move for the talented young keeper. And I'm thinking about that. I mean, is there any point keeping Josh Keeley around next summer? Like, he could be starting week in, week out for a championship team. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of him just sitting on the bench for us?
Yeah, and he just got called up for the Irish senior side as well. So this guy's career trajectory as well has been fantastic. He had an unbelievable loan spell at Orient last season. Really, it's unbelievable, like Donley. So I want him to be playing week in, week out in the championship. I think for keepers, it's even more difficult for goalkeepers, because if he's third choice, there's literally barely any hope of getting any minutes. When it's an outfield player, it's a bit different, you know, a change of formation or a few injuries and you're in there. But keepers, you know, I know Vicario got a big injury. Actually, last season was just a real weird season for us when it came to keepers getting injured and getting opportunities. But very rarely you got to do more than 2 keepers in a season play. So we've got Kinski, we've got Vicario, and we've got Austin as well, who showed a decent ability to be a third choice. I think it makes a lot more sense just to send Keeley out on loan.
Yeah, I think he's one as well. Like, we're so stocked in the goalkeeping department. I'd love to see him break through, but with Vicario and Kinski there, it's hard to see that pathway for him. However, if he goes to the championship and he's like let's say one of the best goalkeepers in the championship next season, like he was in League One, who's to say he can't, you know, skip the queue and go above Kinski, or Vicario was to leave or something like that? You know, all options are open.
100%. I wouldn't rule out anything down the line. He's still young for a goalkeeper. He's very, very young. So he's got a lot of time ahead of him.
And last but not least, we're going to talk about George Abbott. And he says Abbott will be allowed to go on loan if a suitable bid arrives. But if he's involved in first team training this summer, don't bet against the teenager catching Frank's eye after a big season of development in the Football League. I mean, we were following him closely, weren't we, for Notts County? Had a brilliant season. He's kind of always like, it's harsh to say it, but like the forgotten man. Like, no fans ever talk about George Abbott. He was central to the under-21s in that year where they were, winning the title, got to the final of the cup. Captain on many occasions as well. Standout performer. I remember that thunderbolt he scored against Chelsea, I think, in the semis. And he's gone to Notts County and been one of their star players.
And he's actually scored quite a few bangers. He got gold at the EFL last season, playing across all 3 divisions. He got the best goal scored. He scored a few really lovely long-range efforts for Notts County. And if you speak to see what Notts County fans say about him, they think he's absolutely phenomenal. And he had apparently an unbelievable season, so consistent as well. I guess the unfortunate thing is it was only in League Two. So when you're comparing it to a lot of the other players, they're getting a lot of high-level loans. But I remember even in pre-season, he looked quite good for us before going out on loan as well. I guess, because he's been a bit versatile. I mean, before last season, where he's been to Notts County and been playing predominantly in midfield, was kind of seen as like a guy who just fills in anywhere, right back, centre mid, centre back, all these different things. And maybe that counted against him. But now he's kind of, clearly he's a central midfielder. That's his best position. That's where he wants to be. Maybe that can make him be seen in a different light by a lot of different people and fans. But yeah, unfortunately, again, it's similar to Devine. It's just we've got so much talent there. It's going to be hard for him to show he's better than a Sawa or Bergvall to be in that squad.
Yeah, and I think he's about to turn 20, I believe. Yeah, 17th of August, he's going to be 20. I actually thought he was younger than that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But it's just unbelievable the amount of talent that Spurs have on their roster at this moment in time, young talent. And like we said before, it's going to be hard to see the path to have a pathway for all of them. And it's a shame. It's a shame because
You think if we just went full United 92, just sold everyone, put the youngsters in, could we have a golden generation?
let's do it, man. Let's do it. I'm all for it. People accept a few losses here and there if we were to do that.
Imagine. Maybe it could be a golden generation.
I think it is. I think it is.
Well, it is if we use them. It won't be seen as a golden generation if they all leave. You know what I mean?
That's the thing, yeah. All right.